nationwide and close to home for everything you need. About the House, sponsored by Home Value.
It'll probably cost you €2,000-3,000 a year to heat the house.
That much. The current building regulations don't really reflect the amount of noise that's in a modern day house.
Well, delighted to give Victor a hand whatever way they can, and we're all looking forward to a party at the end of it.
Today I'm meeting Victor. I got a phone call from one of his friends to see if I could help with building his new house.
Victor wants to build a house in Killoe, near Longford. In October 2005, Victor played a game of rugby that would change his life. He received a neck injury, damaging his spine, leaving him paralysed.
Just thinking, same as every other scrum, like you just go into it and you try and win the ball. Just on impact when the scrum came together, just felt kind of a click. It was just like a switch and just power drained from my body, and that was it.
I was scared, because you don't just know what, till you hear more. And then our own doctor rang us. It was unreal. It was very traumatic now, so it was.
It was very frustrating at the start, from being so active and working and playing sports to just lying in a bed doing nothing.
Victor's very positive in every way, and he tries to be as independent as he can around the house.
Partly the recovery from your accident is mainly mental. Your physical body is gone, but your brain is still working, so you have to come to terms with your accident that you're not able to do certain things.
Although he can't play rugby anymore, Victor is still active in the running of his local rugby team.
Yeah? You were never any good at catching the ball anyway, Carney.
Hi Victor.
Duncan, how are you?
It's good to see you here.
Nice to meet you.
Is this your rugby club?
This is Longford Rugby Club, and just a few of the lads here playing, so just in to have a look.
Now, one of your friends rang me up and mentioned about you building a house.
Yeah, I'm trying to build a house for myself and become a little bit more independent, so hoping to have it as energy efficient as I can. So I was hoping, would you be able to give me a few pointers on that?
And have you started building, by the way?
I've the foundations down and subfloor are nearly in.
Okay, but it's not too late?
No, not too late, no.
Victor currently lives with his parents. As a temporary solution, they built an extension to the family home.
It was hard not to be able to go back up to your own room again, where you're after spending 25 years of your life. Felt that I was limited to where I could go when I came back to the house first. And when I got my electric chair, it gave me great independence that I can go around everywhere, and get from here to there, without someone having to wait for someone to push me. I don't like having my bedroom kind of in my sitting room, as you could say. I tried to watch telly, but you have a bedroom there. When my friends come over, you don't like disrupting your parents down in their sitting room, they're watching telly or something the evening. If you come in, it's just too small. I haven't got enough room. Doors are a little bit tight as well, most of them. I can't make a cup of tea for myself or that, can't get under the sink. Just wanted to get a new house for independence more than anything else, and freedom.
I think he really deserves his own space and to be as independent as he can be. Let's get going and get this house on the way.
It's obvious that Victor's house disables him the way it's laid out at the moment, and it's a pity that when we're designing new houses that we don't accommodate people with special needs, such as wheelchairs, people with visual impairment, or even elderly.
By designing the layout of his own house, Victor has the opportunity to get these things right. He is planning permission to build on his parents' land a large 3-bedroom bungalow with a gym and office.
Now, looking at the house in layout, it's a large house.
Because it's bungalow, I can't go up, so like it has to be a big area, big floor space. I widened the passageways and the doors as wide as I could, the way that you won't be hitting off things and you have good space in the chair that you're not looking at where you're going the whole time.
I notice here on the north side, the sills are a little bit high, I think, Victor.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, because when you're looking out, you don't want the window to be cutting off your view. And I notice all of these doors are double opening. They're hinged in both directions.
Well, yeah, I hope to have that when you go through a door, that you're not turning around, stopping, and having to close it the whole time, and easy access.
With all of that, because you've got so much surface area, and the way you're building at the moment with the standard kind of double-leaf blockwork, there's going to be an awful lot of heat loss in the house. It'll probably cost you €2,000-3,000 a year to heat the house.
That much?
Yeah. Well, I think what we can do from here is really re-examine the whole performance of the walls, the roof, the floors, the windows, so that they're all very well insulated.
What way would you consider doing that? Would I have to go away from the blocks then?
Well, I'd certainly go away from blockwork this way, because it's going to be very poor in terms of its performance for your needs. I might have been a bit tough on Victor there, but this is the critical stage before he builds the house to get the energy running cost down to a low enough level that it doesn't become a big burden on him in future years. So I hope he takes my advice on this.
We all know the ordeal of buying a new house. But what if you go through the whole process of bidding for the house, getting your mortgage, and then finally moving in, and then you discover that it's impossible to live in? Landscaper Pat Kelly bought a semi-detached house in a new development in Kill, County Kildare, and all was going well until the neighbours moved in. Pat, you've got some big problems here with sound in your home. Can you tell us about it?
Sound coming through the not just downstairs but upstairs as well. So you get it during the course of the day, and again at night time you can hear lots of walking around. There's simple things like people closing doors.
And your neighbours are not doing anything particularly?
My neighbours, I've got to say, I've got to compliment them. They're not particularly noisy in any way. But ordinary things like walking around the house, and if they have people in at the weekend, that really accentuates the problem. Then I more or less have to go, I have to leave and come back later when hopefully everybody's left the next door.
How long is it built, by the way?
The house is built 2 years, Duncan.
And you're happy with it?
Yeah, overall, I could not find fault with the house. The finish quality is pretty good. I'm happy about that. But the sound is affecting my quality of life, essentially.
If you're affected by noise, it may cause sleep deprivation and it may cause stress. And that can be directly linked to heart disease. In fact, there's an emerging body of evidence through credible organisations like the World Health Organization that noise can be directly linked to heart disease and in effect the fatalities associated with that.
Sound levels between houses need to comply with building regulations. So Pat is having his house tested by a sound engineer to find out if it complies.
The type of noises we hear commonly are telephones, the chinking of cutlery, the chinking of plates. They can hear dishwashers being emptied, they can hear drawers being opened and closed and what have you. And that's all airborne sound. Then the other type of sound that people talk about, which is both in apartments and in houses, but it can only be tested for in apartments, and that's impact sound. Now, impact sound will be described as footfall. If you can hear somebody upstairs walking around in their room, and the vibration that they're creating is being coupled into the floor, and that is coming down into your space. But it's not coming down airborne-wise, it's actually the structure is actually physically moving.
To test the performance of the party wall between the houses, they set up a speaker that will project very loud white noise at a level of 100 decibels. Then from next door, they measure how much airborne sound transfers to the neighbour's house. Jim has found that Pat's house does comply with building regulations. So how come Pat and his neighbours can still hear so much of each other's lives?
The current building regulations don't really reflect the amount of noise that's in a modern day house. There's TVs, radios in every room. They go for hard floors, ceramic tiles, timber floors. All these elements tend to amplify noise in a room. I think it's fair to say that standards at the moment are quite low, and the world has got much noisier, and standards needs to be moved up in order to reflect the fact that both internally and externally to your house, the world is a lot noisier than it used to be.
There are no legal limits in statute, but there are codes of practice and British standards that we would have regard to. in determining noise nuisance. The existing legislation is the Environment Protection Agency Act 1992, and that contains a definition of what constitutes a noise nuisance.
Design and layout is another factor affecting the sound between houses. In the case of Pat's house, his sitting room is next to his neighbour's sitting room, and likewise bedrooms are adjoining neighbours' bedrooms, and this can accentuate sound. There is the other way with semi-Ds. These houses are hallway to hallway, where the hall, stairs and landing creates a buffer space between the two houses, and this can help. It's too late for Pat to change the layout of the house, but he can bring in the sound specialist to insulate the party wall. David, when you come into a house, a typical house with a party wall, blockwork, where do you start?
When we arrived here, Duncan, what we found was this house was actually to a higher specification than what we would normally find. So there was a plasterboard dabbed onto the wall, and on the back of the plasterboard there was a cork layer. And that cork layer would normally help absorb the impact noises. And also there's a scratch coat of sanded cement placed over the blockwork, which may help cover up any holes that might be in the blockwork itself.
Right. So what do you do?
Well, basically, Duncan, the first procedure would be, is, as I said, clean off the wall, prepare the wall if there's any obvious defects to remedy them. And then basically we use this acoustic batten. This helps us achieve decoupling the new surface from the existing party wall. Two MDF battens run parallel to one another, and they're held together with high density rubber, which is flexible in itself, and these absorb the shock waves of sound and weaken them as they travel through.
To fix this now, you don't want a screw fixing going all the way through here and sound transmitting through the screw.
Exactly, yeah. We infilled the battens with medium density rock wool insulation to absorb the airborne noise, and then over that, as the last layer of resistance, there's two layers of a high density sound check plasterboard, and the second layer overlaps the previous layer's joints, because that is the weak point of the existing first layer of plasterboard.
The sound insulation must continue through the first floor construction, the partition wall, and through the dry lining of the external wall to meet the blockwork. Sockets are also fitted in the floor as opposed to cutting holes for new power points through which sound can travel. So how long does a job like this take to do from start to finish?
Well, generally speaking, a standard 3-bedroom semi-detached home would take 1 week.
And so what sort of cost involved here?
Every home would vary, Duncan, but an average broad line would be approximately €7,000 including VAT, but that would not include the electrical or the decoration, but it would include any plumbing work that would be necessary for the actual project.
It's estimated that 1/3 of new houses don't comply with building regulations, and for another third, the standards are simply not good enough. Without having a test before you buy, you could be exposed to a lot of expense. So if you're buying a new house, my view is that the building regulations should extend to having a sound test carried out on all houses where there's a party wall before you buy the house. With existing houses, why not ask the neighbours what the sound levels are like between walls in their estate? But also you could get a sound test carried out before you buy the house, so at least you know how it performs, and it could save you an awful lot of trouble later on. If you do find you have a problem, why not split the loss of space, the inconvenience, and of course the cost with your neighbour by making repairs at ground floor level in one house and tackling the first floor next door. Meanwhile, Pat is very pleased with the results of his upgrade.
The difference is just remarkable. All I can really hear now are very muted, low-level sounds, even when the people are playing their music at high volume. So that means an awful lot to me at the end of the day.
If you have a complaint relating to noise, you can contact your local authority, who can advise you on what steps to take. For more information, visit enfo.ie.
Nationwide and close to home for everything you need. About the House, sponsored by Home Value. Nationwide and close to home for everything you need. About the House, sponsored by Home Value.
Victor Connell is planning to build a very accessible house to accommodate his special needs and give him independence. To get some ideas for the interior, Victor and his parents visit a furniture show in Dublin.
You'd rather a double bed.
I'd rather
Your
a double
bedroom will be big enough for one. the plasticky looking.
They're fake looking.
Artificial looking, aren't they?
Yeah, very handy computer desk, all right now. It's a good idea. Yeah. It's a good idea now, all right, to get right in. Like that's nearly the perfect height there, once you get in, then you can pull this out. I wouldn't like to feel war up there if you ever slipped off it.
You could be left in it.
Soon Victor's team will start building. I'm curious about what exactly his plans are.
So how do you get on, Victor?
Well, when I got the results for the energy audit at the house, I got a bit of a shock, so that how much it was going to cost, and especially with the price of oil and diesel and that going up at the moment. So I decided I'd kind of look at something else to see could I get it going. So I decided to have a look and go with timber frame. Well, at the moment, as you can see, they're working on site. We're laying the radon membrane and putting in the subfloor and just getting it ready for the timber frame.
They're the important layers. You see, there would be very critical now. It's very important that
everything
pressure
is
sealed everywhere, because otherwise it'll leak in small places.
Yeah, there's no point putting it down if you're not going to do it properly.
Absolutely.
Parts of County Longford have a high risk of radon, so I'm meeting up with an expert to find out more about it.
All the houses have to have a radon sump, which actually depressurises the subfloor area and extracts the radon into the atmosphere to stop it getting into the house. If you're in a high radon area, you must use a radon membrane, which has to be appropriately certified, and it's been tested with radon gas, which acts as a barrier to stop radon getting in.
When you're laying a membrane like this on site, what do you need to do to protect it?
Well, firstly, you must have a layer of sand blinding, which protects the radon membrane from being perforated from the hard core beneath. You can also cushion it with an insulation layer if you wish. On top of that then, we'd normally have another insulation layer and then the concrete on top. With a membrane like this, which is reinforced, you can pour the cement directly on top of it as long as it's done carefully and slowly and you pay good attention to detail.
So what if there's a hole in the membrane?
Well, one hole, no matter how small in the membrane, is critical that it's sealed correctly, because even just a small hole can lead to a build-up of pressure and radon getting into the building. So what they have to do is they have to repair that hole, usually with a small square of the membrane adhesively sealed to that, almost like a double layer, to make sure that radon cannot get out that tail.
So Robin, how do you know then the radon resisting membrane is certified?
We ensure that all of the radon membranes that we certify have been tested with radon gas. There are other membranes on the market that have UK certification that haven't been tested with radon gas. Radon isn't an issue in the UK. Methane is the big problem there.
Right, so it's really an issue for Ireland.
Exactly, and membranes that are certified over there may be called on the certificate radon membrane, but it's actually just acting and being tested as a damp-proof membrane. So people aren't getting what they think they're going to get when they buy the product. So you should look out for the IAB logo on the packaging, and as I say, first and foremost, get onto the Agrimont board. You can contact us by phone or do a search on our website, nsai.ie, and you'll see if the product is certified.
Victor has decided on a timber frame house, so he's off to meet the manufacturers, who have a 3D computer model to show him.
So what sort of rating do you think this house is going to get?
Well, this house, we've done a provisional BER certificate for it, and we've designed an A3 house for you.
Well, that's important, because one of the main aims of the house was to have it as energy efficient as I could, with the solar panels, the heat recovery, the geothermal. The graphics are fairly good, all right.
The house has 3 bedrooms, a large one for Victor with a spacious and easy access ensuite bathroom. The kitchen is a big open space with dining and living. And there is a sunroom with large panoramic windows to the south. He has an office as his future workspace, which also includes exercising machines to keep him fit. The clever design incorporates a drive-through garage, which makes the house very accessible.
Give it another week and it'll be real. So, a long time waiting to see it.
The whole house is engineered and constructed in the factory, and if all goes well, the structure needs only 2 days assembling on site. The structural frames consist of timber studs forming wall and floor panels. Data from Victor's drawings is inputted to a computer for structural analysis and to ensure accuracy. Some panels have extra beams and columns inserted to support large spans and loads of the house. The OSB will provide stiffness and bracing and will prevent wind infiltration. Then, a breathable membrane is applied to the exterior to protect against rain. After this, the panel is rotated and quilt insulation is fitted tightly between the studs and covered with an airtight membrane on the inside. All the joints must be taped and fully sealed. Another layer of high-performance insulation is then added, giving a total insulation thickness of 200 millimetres. Finally, battens are attached to create a service cavity that ensures that at a later stage, no holes have to be drilled in the membrane or insulation. When Victor had his accident, a trust fund was set up by Longford Rugby Club and the local community. He decided to build a home and a workplace with the funds raised. Not only friends and family, but also local tradesmen have volunteered their skills.
From Victor's point of view, he wanted something that was low energy, but also something very comfortable. We also looked at the solar thermal, the MVHR, and these are all key elements in terms of Victor's requirements.
Because all the panels are engineered and made with great precision, in only one day all the wall panels go up and are assembled like a giant jigsaw puzzle by NSAI certified erectors.
Getting on well so far, aren't you? Didn't think it would be as much built up. All external, internal walls up in the first day, so you can't ask for much better now. Looking forward to seeing more of it tomorrow.
It's hard to believe that the structure of a big house like this only takes 2 days to erect. The roof structure is put in place with a heat recovery ventilation system accommodated in the design.
I was amazed at all they had done yesterday. I couldn't believe that you could see all the walls were up.
I think the feeling is, if it was one of us, Victor would be here giving a hand out of us getting a house built. I'm delighted to be involved with Victor. Like, I'm a mate of his, so like, he designed the house. We just stick it up, really. Because a lot of people have a lot of work put in at this stage, and they've money raised, and they have a lot of stuff gathered, so they're glad to see, I'm sure, stuff going up as well. It makes people happy to be involved with the project, and they're all delighted to, you know, to give Victor a hand whatever way they can, and we're all looking forward to a party at the end of it.
Next time on About the House, I'm in Old Town, County Dublin to follow the build of a passive house extension which is larger than the original house. Una McQuillan pays a visit to an extravagant beach house in Sutton with amazing views of Ireland's Eye. For more information on this programme, visit the RTE website.
Nationwide and close to home for everything you need. About the House, sponsored by Home Value.